Ever caught yourself wishing you could download skills directly into your brain, Matrix style? One second you're clueless, the next you're fluent in Japanese or coding like a pro. We've all been there, daydreaming about how we'd use instant expertise to impress our middle school crush with a perfect backflip or play that guitar solo that would make our ex regret everything. The harsh reality? Most of us are absolutely terrible at learning effectively, and it's not even our fault. Think about how school taught us to learn. Memorize random facts about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, regurgitate them onto a Scantron test, and then immediately purge that information to make room for whatever's coming next week. That's not learning, that's just intellectual bulimia. No wonder we struggle when trying to pick up actually useful skills as adults. When you last attempted to master something new, maybe Spanish for that trip to Barcelona, or coding so you could finally understand what your tech friends are always bragging about, you probably went straight for the passive approach. Reading books, watching endless YouTube tutorials, nodding along to podcasts while secretly checking Instagram. 6 months later, the only Spanish phrase you remember is, "Donde está el baño?" And your coding knowledge extends to changing your Facebook password. Sound familiar? The problem is blindingly obvious once you see it. We're obsessed with input when learning is actually all about output. It's like trying to become a professional basketball player by watching every Lakers game since 1982. Sure, you might know all the theory, but put you on a court and you'll look like a newborn giraffe trying to walk for the first time. Learning is a contact sport. You have to get your hands dirty and actually do the thing you're trying to learn. But before you sprint off to practice like a maniac, here's a secret that will save you countless hours of wasted effort. Not everything deserves your time equally. Enter the 80-20 rule, the lazy person's path to expertise. About 80% of your results will come from just 20% of what you study. This means most of what you're killing yourself trying to learn is basically useless. Harsh but true. Want to learn Spanish? Don't waste time memorizing how to conjugate obscure verbs like desenfundar, to unsheath in case you were wondering. Focus on the 1,000 most common words that make up 80% of everyday conversations. Learning guitar? Master those fundamental chords before attempting to play that Dragon Force solo that gave even Guitar Hero players carpal tunnel. Identify the core 20% that delivers maximum results and you'll progress shockingly faster while doing dramatically less work. Work smarter, not harder, words every chronically lazy person loves to hear. Once you've identified what actually matters, active recall becomes your best friend. Instead of passively highlighting text like you're decorating a Christmas tree with neon markers, force yourself to retrieve information from memory. Close your books and actually test yourself on what you just learned. This creates stronger neural pathways than any amount of rereading ever could. Think of it as weight training for your brain. Staring at dumbbells while scrolling through fitness influencer pages won't give you biceps. You need to actually lift something heavy and uncomfortable. Let's talk about cramming, that time-honored tradition of students everywhere. You know the routine. Ignore a subject for weeks, then panic study for 12 hours straight the night before an exam, fueled by enough caffeine to give a rhino palpitations. Your bloodshot eyes scan the same paragraph 17 times while nothing sticks. Sound effective? About as effective as using a chocolate teapot. The spacing effect shows that spreading out learning sessions dramatically improves retention. Study for 30 to 60 minutes daily throughout the week instead of a single 6-hour marathon where half the time is spent contemplating your life choices. Each time you revisit material, your brain has to work to retrieve it, strengthening those neural pathways. It's like forging a path through dense woods. The first time you need a machete and possibly a prayer, but each pass makes the trail clearer until eventually even your directionally challenged friend could navigate it blindfolded. Let's be honest, most of us gravitate toward practicing what we're already decent at. Feels good to do things we don't suck at. But comfort is the enemy of rapid learning. Deliberate practice means specifically targeting the skills you're worst at, not what comes easily. It feels about as fun as getting a root canal without anesthesia because that's exactly where growth happens. Learning to draw? Don't repeatedly sketch the same anime character you've been perfecting since 7th grade. Focus on the hands, faces, and perspectives that make you want to throw your sketchbook across the room. Learning a language? Force yourself to have actual conversations with native speakers instead of just using Duolingo to learn how to say, "The turtle wears blue pants," in 14 languages. The discomfort is temporary, but the skill improvement is permanent. Here's something counterintuitive that accelerates learning dramatically. Teach what you're trying to learn even if you barely understand it yourself. When you explain concepts to others, you're forced to organize information coherently and identify gaps in your understanding. It's like trying to give someone directions to a place you've only been to once. Suddenly you realize you don't actually remember if it's a left or right at the gas station. Set up your phone camera and record yourself explaining the topic as if thousands will watch. Nothing clarifies thinking faster than imagining the brutal YouTube comments section tearing apart your explanation. This guy doesn't know the difference between there and there, dislike. The pressure to be clear forces deeper understanding than any amount of passive studying ever could. Your brain is like that friend who gets bored easily and needs constant stimulation. It craves sensory variety. The more senses you engage while learning, the stronger the information sticks. Learning French? Don't just read words. Listen to French hip-hop, watch bizarre French art films without subtitles, write phrases down while sitting in a cafe pretending to be Parisian, and practice speaking with a terrible accent while gesticulating dramatically. This multisensory approach creates redundant neural connections, like building a house with multiple support beams instead of balancing it on a single toothpick and hoping for the best. Learning doesn't have to feel like medieval torture. Remember how easily you memorized every lyric to that embarrassing boy band when you were 13, but somehow forgot everything about algebra? That's because your brain loves fun and hates boredom. Gamification taps into your brain's reward system, releasing dopamine with each small achievement. Set mini goals, compete with friends, use progress tracking apps. Whatever turns learning from a chore into something you actually look forward to. Your brain chemically rewards these small wins, creating a positive feedback loop that sustains motivation through challenging material. It's like training a puppy. Treats for good behavior work better than punishment for mistakes. Be nice to your brain. It's trying its best with the limited resources you've given it, like that diet of ramen and energy drinks. That said, your greatest enemy might be sitting in your pocket right now, constantly begging for attention like a needy digital distraction is the kryptonite of deep learning. Your brain cannot multitask. That's a dangerous myth perpetuated by people who are actually terrible at everything they're trying to do simultaneously. What feels like multitasking is actually rapid context switching that exhausts your mental resources faster than trying to run 3 marathons back to back. Create distraction-free zones. Silent phone, yes, actually turn it off, not just flip it over while sneaking glances. Close tabs, all 47 of them, and focused attention on one thing. 1 hour of true focus beats 3 hours of divided attention where you're constantly checking notifications to see if that person who never texts you suddenly decided today's the day. Here's something schools never emphasized enough. Your brain isn't just learning while you're actively studying, it's working even harder during rest periods. Sleep is when your brain consolidates information, strengthening important connections and pruning unnecessary ones. Those all-nighters before exams? Completely counterproductive. Your brain literally cannot form strong memories without adequate sleep, no matter how many energy drinks you shotgun. It's like trying to save a document on a computer while simultaneously unplugging it. That information isn't getting stored properly. Regular breaks during study sessions aren't laziness. They're essential maintenance for optimal brain function. Your brain needs processing time like a computer needs time to render a complex video. Push too hard without breaks and you'll crash the system. Finally, your mindset shapes everything. If you believe you just aren't a math person, or don't have a talent for languages, you've already failed before starting. That's like deciding you'll never be good at swimming because you got water up your nose the first time you tried. Adopt a growth mindset, the understanding that abilities develop through dedication and hard work, not some magical talent fairy that blessed some people but skipped you entirely. The simple addition of yet transforms I can't do this into I can't do this yet. This tiny shift changes everything, redirecting focus from current limitations to future potential. It's the difference between seeing a mountain as an impassable barrier versus seeing it as a challenging climb with an incredible view waiting at the top. The ultimate truth about accelerated learning isn't about finding shortcuts or hacks. It's not about downloading information into your brain like some sci-fi movie. It's about understanding how your brain actually works and working with it, not against it. The journey itself transforms you, expanding not just what you know but who you are. And that transformation? That's the real power of learning, the person you become in the process. So next time you're struggling to learn something new, remember, your brain isn't broken, you're just using it wrong. Fix the method and you'll fix the results. Now go forth and learn something amazing. Just make sure you get enough sleep first because this information won't stick otherwise. Trust me, I'm teaching it to you, which means I've had to learn it properly myself.